that was micronized, Howard. That's very, very finely ground material. Tastes good, too.
And the only reason that doesn't bother me is that I take, and y'all can't tell anybody this now, but I take a great big spoonful of this every day. Literally. And it is also the diatomaceous earth that's in the Munster natural dog food. Now, the difference technically in this stuff, and it really is different, it is twice as good as anything on the market because it has twice the surface area. The surface area on diatomaceous earth is measured in square meters per gram. Normal diatomaceous earth, and products I've used before that are fine, have about 30 square meters per gram. This stuff has over 61, double. And what that means is it has double the absorbing quality, and that's what kills ants and roaches and silverfish and all kinds of other things. People have been trying it on all kinds of things, including fire ants, and it works. But that technology is such that it's just came from a different place. Now this is a whole new technology on compost and compost tea. This is also a dry product, and I won't open it so it blows in Bob's face. But this one is also micronized. This is a compost, a completed compost that's turned into a talcum powder. And this micronizing is a big deal for a couple reasons. One is you can treat seed with it, and the seed will be inoculated with the mycorrhizal fungus as the seed germinates and begins to grow. So it's extremely economical. You put out a very small amount of this stuff and inoculate your seeds as they grow. You can also put it into liquid, dip your plants in it when they're planted, and inoculate the roots that way. You can also mix it in water and drench it into the soil or spray it as an instant compost tea. I think it's going to change the whole marketplace on organic fertilizers, this technology. Other people will be getting into it and already are. The biggest part about it is that it contains mycorrhizal fungus from the guy that we're working with the most. You've heard him on Bob's show. You probably heard him on mine. John may have had him on too. His name is Dr. Michael Amaranthus. And Dr. Amaranthus has the website called mycorrhizae.com, and he knows more about mycorrhizal fungus than anybody. What that is the beneficial fungus that grows on the roots of plants and makes the plants establish quicker, grow quicker, get to production faster, have better production, and greatly reduce the amount of insect and disease pressure on the plants. All plants grown in an organic program will have mycorrhizal fungus. It happens in nature. It's a natural thing. This just speeds up the process tremendously. And what Dr. Mike has done is figured out a way to put the propagules into a dormant state so he can put them into a dry material and a liquid material as well. So whether you like to use dry or liquid, it's available to you. And if you are an organic gardener, you already know about mycorrhizal fungus. This is just a new way to have it very economically available. Why is all this important? Well, one thing has happened to me that's significant from a money standpoint, and that is that a lot of my commercial projects don't have a very important tool anymore because it's gotten out of reach financially, and that's corn, gluten, meal. The price has been ruined by ethanol, the ethanol deal, and also by the fact that the Chinese are buying corn gluten meal as a protein source, and also the weakness of the U.S. dollar. All of those things together have really made not only corn gluten meal, but grains in general really go through the roof. Well, a lot of the organic products are based on, have a grain base. And so we've got to get away from that. Recycled material like the base of this is a composted poultry manure, and other similar products are the ones that more of this industry is going to go to. So the most important thing that's happening is change, and it is a big change that's going on. I think I frustrate people that I accept change pretty fast, and then I forget about what I used to recommend, and it kind of bothers people when they've bought one of these pyrethrum misting systems for mosquitoes at home, and then I throw a hissy fit when I find out that they've done it, and I have to tell them how dangerous and how much I don't approve of those kind of things. I don't approve of pyrethrum at all anymore. I don't approve of any of the products that contain pyperonobutoxide. And Bob, I think, had more influence than anybody at getting Greenlight to take it out of one of their products, one of their neem products. So always look at the label even though it's in the organic section, if it's got a lot of copper in it, if it's a copper sulfate product, if it's a pyrethrum product, if it's a rotenone product, if it has PBO, pyrronic butoxide in it, it's not acceptable to me in an organic program. And if you want to be a real purist, it shouldn't be to you either. We'll talk a lot more about change and things going on, but that's what I wanted to tell you about some of this new science. And it's really fun that the true science, our critics have for a long time said that we don't have any science behind what we're talking about. We don't have the data. There are 60,000, I think more, about 65,000 studies on the books on mycorrhizal fungus. One of the mycorrhizal fungus companies in the country has been bad-mouthing my recommendations of broadcasting it and putting it on the surface of the soil and drenching it into the soil. So I asked Dr. Mike about that, and he said, well, there's 15,000 studies showing that it works on the books. And he said, I did about 200 of them. So the science is now on the side of what we're talking about. It's on the organic side, and it's growing. And we're learning new things. So don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of us saying, hey, what we used to recommend to you doesn't work as good as this. We've got a new idea for you to try. And don't be afraid to give us tips, like the hydrogen peroxide. Thanks again for coming. Back to you.
Let's pass this down to the far end and start with Mr. Dromgoole.
Ask a question.
Oh, just what do you think the most important thing that has happened in the past year in the world of organics has been?
I think the most important thing is the increase in the price of gas. It makes us buy products from our own region. Of course, the price of chemicals are now going up so high that where they used to say the price of organics was kind of high, now it's going to be very economical to buy organics. The availability of bulk compost is extremely important because not everybody makes compost, and those that do know that they really can't quite make enough all the time. So I think higher quality compost is very important, and when we make compost we are protecting the environment because we're reducing the methane that goes up into the air. And those of you who were here in my talk a little while ago, we talked a lot about global warming and what the gardener can do. Homemade compost is part of it. So I think that the price of gas in its own awkward way is helping us tremendously.
Very good. Malcolm?
I think one of the most important things for that thing that's happening is the study of paramagnetism. Years ago, a guy named Phil Callahan, Dr. Phil Callahan, wrote a book on paramagnetism. And I was up visiting with Howard, and he introduced me to an electrical engineer. And I asked this man, I said, what's your opinion of paramagnetism? He said, Malcolm, if that stuff had any influence on plants, us scientists would know about it. Well, he shouldn't have said that. I started doing testing. Anyway, I'm working on a book that should be out in a few more months. And I've discovered that you use paramagnetism correctly. Paramagnetism is when you grow plants between positive and negative rocks or zones. Well, doing that, I've kept insects completely off of plants. My first test, really, though, was I used it around 4 tomato plants and none of the rest in the garden. And they predicted, when the plant's up about 18 inches and had blooming and fruiting, well, they predicted a frost, 28 degrees with a stiff wind. Well, everybody in the neighborhood covered their plants. Dale did too. When the freeze was over with, my 4 plants, right out and open, were completely untouched, and every plant around the neighborhood was dead black to the ground, even those that they covered. Since then, I've discovered that you can keep insects completely off of a plant by growing in that energy field. And then I accidentally discovered that it will even make a plant immune to herbicides. So here you got a simple product. Positive and negative rocks, or wood ashes are positive. Anything going through a heat is positive. Anything going through a high centrifugal force can be positive. You can even make cow manure paramagnetic, believe it or not. But something like that won't hold it very long. Anyway, before I spend too much time on it, I got to leave a few secrets so y'all might look.
As they mentioned, I look at things a little different than other people, but I do want to elaborate on what John Dromgoole said. I think that